What's up, guys? So this is the follow-up video to my FFMI video. So if y'all want to check that out, it's probably up there or something. Actually, you should check that out before watching this video, so this makes sense. So anyway, I got, and these are all estimates, other than, you know, like my measurables, my height and weight, using eyeballs of other people and everything. So we did estimates and averages. And that's how we came up with this. At best, from these estimates, my FFMI was 27.8, which is very, very, very not natty leaning. It puts me just under, like, I think they listed it as like the highest natural ever whatever measured. And then at my worst, it was 25.3. That was with the lowest weight and the highest body fat percentage, and even that still, like, not natty, bro, leans that way. So what can we take away from this is the main things I want to get at, and I think there's a couple points that come to my head that I want to address. So first of all, time. Like, I've at this point have probably all total of weight training 13 to 15 years, somewhere in there. I'd have to do some math, and definitely over a decade straight now, like with serious intent. You know, I had some years before that I was kind of just like doing bench pro stuff, but nonetheless, you know, that still was lifting weights. I played sports and stuff as a kid, played outside a lot as a kid. I think that has something to do with things. There's some of these innate things that you just do, and maybe a lot of kids nowadays aren't necessarily doing. You know, I made sure I've got my kids in jiu-jitsu class. We play outside. He goes to the gym with me. He you know, does kettlebell swings and box jumps and things like that. So there was definitely a foundation there. And I think there's a lot of environmental impact that can be had here. Just what we do growing up in our years developing. And then, you know, just the time, the total amount of time. Like, if you count like the playing sports and playing outside and all that, like, I've been physical in that capacity, you know, as far as I can remember, and I've just always wanted to be very physical as well. There were certainly some lulls in there, don't get me wrong. There were some points in my life where I was rather lazy and couch potato-y. Even still, during some of that, I'd still play basketball a lot when I was being lazy, and I did have some labor jobs too. Like, I moved furniture for a couple years when I wasn't lifting or anything, and I was kind of being lazy then, but, you know, like, the job itself is a non-lazy job. So, you know, that's there. Like, that foundation is there. I know genetics is the one everybody wants to lean into and talk about. I'm not a genetic expert or anything, of course. I'm not educated in that field. Most of us who are going to be talking and speculating in the comment section are not either. So just for speculation's sake, I'm not a freak. Like, I've never seen myself as that. I think some people do to some extent, and I don't get it. I see so many athletes that are better than me. And I never even made it to, like, the super upper echelon of powerlifting. I was kind of on track. I had some life circumstances, some injuries, so it would be speculation to say if I would have gotten there or not. Obviously, my bench press was at a world-class level. My squat was getting up there too. Deadlifts were coming along. But I would above average. You want to label my genetics for building muscle and getting strong above average? I think that's fair to say. I'm definitely shy of that freak territory. The NFL exists, the NBA exists, you know, the highest levels of strongman exist, fucking high level gymnastics. There's just so much stuff out there. Sprinters, you know, at the highest level. I have a hard time. Even the upper tier of powerlifters, I have a hard time, you know, calling them freaks for the most part, with little exception. So, but if we want to say my strength and or muscle building genetics are above average, I'll take that. As far as like for bodybuilding itself, genetics, I think, and I was talking to Paris about this too, my inserts probably aren't the greatest. I could certainly improve my aesthetics for bodybuilding if I chose to train in a different manner. My little baby biceps, of course, they're kind of getting a little striation in there. I've never really focused on my biceps because they're not really a big deal for powerlifting, and that was my goals for a long time. Nor do aesthetics really play a big deal for me, so they've not been a focus of mine. So I don't like look at myself on my videos when I'm doing a lift and go, oh, you know, my calves are lagging, I could bring those up, or you know, my quad, the VMOs are big, but the outer sweep could use a little work, and adjust my training as such. I don't. I look at, well, fuck, I jumped 40 inches. What do I got to do to jump 44 inches? Or I front squatted, you know, 315 for a set of 3 this week. My back's feeling a little better. Maybe next week I'll do 315 for a set of 5. I'm not looking at the body parts themselves, nor addressing my training as such. You know, I train for performance, and if I feel like, oh, my triceps need more work for my bench press, then I'm going to hammer my triceps some more. If I feel like, you know, my hamstrings could help out, you know, insert lift here, I'll you know, maybe I'll throw in an extra couple sets of hamstring curls or something like that. My hamstrings are unironically probably one of my better bodybuilding parts, when you look at it that way. But I don't think like I have the greatest inserts. Even if I were to focus on that, like I would certainly look better than I do now in a bodybuilding sense and more balanced if I focus my efforts that way. But I don't think like that my genetics lend itself to aesthetic or competitive bodybuilding in that manner, and looking having that aesthetic of, you know, the upper levels of what those can be, even from a non-competitive standpoint. Like I don't even know, because I don't really follow like natural bodybuilders, but we'll say like Alex Leonidas. I don't even think like my inserts, like if I were to get shredded and focus on balancing out my physique, I don't, you know, I wouldn't have that same appearance that he does in that sort of aesthetic and balanced manner, if that makes sense. So while I think, you know, my genetics are above average for both strength and for building muscle, my inserts in the bodybuilding sense, probably not the greatest. And then training. What can we take away about training? So again, been training for a long time, and I've been training mostly for strength and performance. I say exclusively for strength and performance, mostly for strength, and then some performance elsewhere. But we'll say like strength and power, or strength and explosiveness is, you know, my primary goals with training. That said, you can build muscle training that way. Clearly, a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. You know, my bench press is big, my titties are big. So, you know, a lot of powerlifting training is you're near failure in a lot of your sets. You're not necessarily like training to failure all the way, and on your compound movements especially. But you're getting close enough that you're going to stimulate some hypertrophy. And you know, I know like bench press may not be the best movement for your pecs. It may not be the best movement for your triceps. It may not be the best movement for your shoulders. But if you're training your bench press often and heavy and near failure, all of those muscle groups are going to grow because you're using all of those and you are approaching failure in that lift. Again, it may not be the best for any one of those in particular, but it is going to hit all of them, and it's going to hit all of them relatively well. You know, if my focus was on the bodybuilding aspect, and sometimes, you know, even as a power lifter, we have off seasons, and we'll go through hypertrophy blocks. A lot of times we don't do them as long as we probably should because it's boring to us. But we'll go through those blocks where we will, you know, especially me, I have a really tight, compact setup for bench press. I'm really efficient with the movement. So in the off season, I go out of my way to do Larson presses to increase the range of motion. I'll use something like a buffalo bar to increase the range of motion. I'll use a closer grip to increase the range of motion. I'll do these things, and you know, I will train typically in a little bit higher of a higher of a rep range, and I'll still work at like blocks, like, you know, I'll do my hypertrophy blocks, and again, probably should run like 5 or 6 of those hypertrophy blocks, but you know, I'll block it into like a strength block, and almost to a pseudo peak block. But you know, there's time spent training to at and near failure in these extended ranges of motion. So again, not so much like that's also going to be like the best for your pecs or triceps or anything, but you're hitting all of those, and now we're getting a deeper stretch, a longer range of motion in our off season, etc. And contrary to popular belief, powerlifters do accessory work. I post it on here from time to time. I don't like filming my accessories and uploading them because I do think they're boring, but I do time to time. I'll put them on there. If you look on my Instagram today, I posted some, or the day I filmed this, not the day this is being uploaded, but you won't have to scroll far back on my Instagram. And a lot of those like isolation movements, we train to failure, and we look to progress in them. So, you know, if I'm getting 10 sets of 100, 10 sets of 10, or 3 sets of 10, or 3 sets of 12, or 3 sets of 15 at 100 pounds on a tricep extension, you know, I'm trying to either increase my volume or increase my weight or whatever on them, while getting to failure in the off season. Now, when it's kind of more geared toward powerlifting focus, I focus less on those accessories in terms of like progressions, and at that point, it's more just like a get to failure, get to the burn, with whatever weight is there that day, because my progressions are now very much exclusively focused on the powerlifting movements and that stuff, and just whatever energy is left over for any isolation work I'm doing before I drop it, before peaking, is there. But that said, a whole lot of words to say, if you want to train like a power lifter, you can still do that, and you can still get big, and you can still build muscle. It is not going to make you not gain muscle for some reason. Is it going to give you like the best and most balanced physique possible? No. That's going to require some extra effort elsewhere, and it's something you can work in conjunction with powerlifting. However, you know, you're at that point, you're going to detract a little and add a little, and you got to find your own balance there, if those are your goals. But they're not mutually exclusive goals. You can still build a physique, you can still build muscle, etc., while training for performance, be it strength, explosiveness, whatever the case may be, agility. There's still some efficacy there to be able to train, and have a certain aesthetic that comes along with that, and build muscle that comes with that. So I think those are the main takeaways. You know, time under the bar is you know, going to yield the biggest muscle gains. The longer you do it, at some point there's probably going to be a drop off. You know, Father Time gets us all at the end. There's certainly a genetic component. I'm not going to deny that. I do think people overemphasize and look too deeply into it. And I think that it is something that, again, I've said 1,000 times, you don't know your genetics until you put in the time and effort of years, 5, 10 years, working well and consistently and staying relatively healthy through the whole time. I think I completely glossed over the bloat mode. You know, I was in a caloric surplus for a lot of that last decade. Bulking fucking works. Who would have thought? Staying in a caloric surplus. That is how natties can be anabolic. You can be in a caloric surplus, and you can be asleep. And those are the best 2 ways to be anabolic if you're a natural lifter. So it works. You know, when I was big old tubby 300 pounds, this was under there. It was there. You know, so don't be scared to bulk. I'm not saying you have to take it to that level for that amount of time, but obviously, you know, that was a thing too. So yeah, I think that about sums it up. I probably missed something again. I don't script these or anything, so it'll buff out. Peace!